Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Jar of Marble dwellers and Jar of Marble curious. My name is Linda and this is Jar of Marbles.
Yes, it is, and I'm Bob.
Thank you, Bob, for letting us know that you're here. This week, we wanted to talk a little bit about revenge, best served cold, and 8 things to consider. Revenge, like a crispy salad, is best served cold. There's something so sweet about revenge, isn't there? And while payback makes you just as bad as the person, so they say.
Who's they?
Oh, who cares? And it's usually, the person who started it, and in the movies, things always work out a little bit differently, don't they? They get their revenge back, and it's a great feeling as an audience. We sit there and go, God, yeah, I'd love to do that. Maybe that's why we do love a good slice of revenge, as I say, through the movies. Feel the satisfaction and the getting even, so to speak. Revenge is a potent motivator that has spurred countless individuals throughout history to take action, sometimes extreme, to right perceived wrongs or settle scores. The concept of revenge taps into deep-seated emotions of anger, resentment, and a desire.
A desire to get even?
Yes, for justice, often manifesting in actions that have far-reaching consequences. In real life, people have sought revenge for a multitude of reasons, ranging from personal slights to more profound injustices. Some seek revenge for betrayal in relationships where feelings of hurt and betrayal drive individuals to retaliate against those who have wronged them. And this might take the form of spreading rumours, damaging property, planting potatoes in their furniture, or
What?
Well, you just don't know what people will do. Or worst of all, engaging in acts of physical violence. In the realm of business and politics, revenge can be motivated by professional rivalries or a desire to maintain power and influence. Competitors may seek to sabotage each other's efforts, undermine reputations, or engage in smear campaigns to gain a competitive edge. It's just such a yawn. Similarly, politicians may resort to dirty tactics.
No, they wouldn't.
Would they? Wouldn't they? No. Or seek retribution against opponents who have crossed them or threatened their interests. Revenge can also be driven by societal injustices or perceived slights against a particular group or community. Historical examples abound, such as revolutions sparked by the desire to overthrow oppressive regimes or seek retribution for past atrocities. However, revenge often comes at a steep cost. It may provide, like a temporary satisfaction. It can perpetuate cycles of violence and retaliation, leading to further harm and suffering. Moreover, the pursuit of revenge can consume individuals, clouding their judgment and detracting from more constructive endeavours. In the end, while the desire for revenge is a natural human response, it is essential to recognise its potential consequences and seek healthier ways to address grievances. I can't talk today.
Yeah, you're having one of those days. Yes, that's right, you are.
Thanks, Bob. While it might be tempting to seek revenge when relationships go wrong, it's sort of important really to consider the long-term consequences and whether it's truly worth it. And here are some alternative strategies to consider, but we will be talking about the juicier end of revenge. I think we all like a bit of a twist, or at least hear a good story or two as to how far some fold in history has gone with revenge. But anyway, first of the strategies is focusing on self-improvement.
Yeah, that's really important.
We can often wait for others to improve themselves, thinking that will help. And it may in some instances, but the real direction all of us need to be taking is investing in ourselves. Like, oh my goodness, like when something isn't going well or someone's starting to send you messages as in you're sensing that they're not being upfront, honest with you, and some of their responses are a little bit why do we make excuses for them? Oh, I'm probably just, seeing too much. No, you're just right. That's what it is, you're right. So anyway, as I was saying, instead of dwelling on revenge, channel your energy into yourself, into your own personal growth. And if you have ever done this, then you will know what I'm saying. If you haven't done this, you might be going,
Oh, no, that's no good.
thanks, Bob.
That's all right.
It feels good to get into revenge mode, and there's nothing wrong with that. But even better if you can use that energy to streamline your approach to get yourself out of this present situation and concentrate on your own growth. As always, use experience to learn more about yourself and what you want from future relationships.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. Don't make it about them. What a waste of time. Well, I was talking to a woman the other day who just got ghosted by some dude. Everything was going along, by all accounts, really well. But he dumped her out of nowhere after making fun plans, including travel together. And in this instance, there weren't any signs. It just suddenly, it was over. And as we talked about it, there were a couple of points that stood out. One, they hadn't been seeing each other for very long. It was only like 6 or 7 weeks. And she had to look at why she'd gotten involved with him, what was going on with her, that she got involved so quickly, made such really fast, hard plans, which in the scheme of things at that point's fine. But when they suddenly disappear on you like that, then you've got to start looking a little bit more closely at, what was actually really going on with you. And I don't know that many of us actually do that. So as she sort of started talking about what had happened at the beginning and started looking more closely, what actually was going on with her, that she was at the tail end of another relationship that had fallen apart, and it had was a bit of a slow burn. It just died off very, very slowly. So it was sort of hard for her to see at the time that she hadn't really put that one to rest, that she hadn't worked through the ending. She just, before it, when it was over, basically for 5 minutes, she met someone else, and that she actually had no business getting involved in making plans with another person, not on a level where, you're giving your all. Sure, it makes you feel good, you feel better, but she hadn't gone through the pain the other had caused her and what she had done for herself in terms of agreeing to things, because often we have to forgive ourselves. And the other person she had been with for years and had, as many of us do, covered it over with another distraction. It is a rite of passage for many of us.
A rite of what?
Well, it's how we grow and develop. It's natural. It's a normal thing to go through it. And sometimes we go through it lots and lots of times. That's normal too.
Oh, yeah, okay.
But as we all know, this will return to bite you square on the arse. Revenge looked very attractive, and she had considered it, but it was just scenarios in her head that were a reflection of the cruel pain that he had actually caused her.
Well, powder me with sugar and call me a donut.
Thanks, Bob. Yeah, so the bottom line, it was time to make this part of her journey about her own healing and getting to know herself a little bit better, and throwing energy into her own improvement for a better life all round, and to forgive herself, to stop beating herself up about not seeing that he was a ding-dong, and to forgive the situation, but as I say, herself, and begin the process of loving her life again, perhaps like maybe never before. A quote by Maya Angelou, for forgiveness is the greatest gift you can give yourself. Oh my goodness, that is so true. Just forgive yourself. The second suggestion is then to practice, the forgiveness. Resentment is like swallowing poison and expecting the other person to die. Resentment is like drinking poison and hoping it will just kill someone else.
No, it doesn't work like that.
No, it doesn't. Holding on to anger and resentment only harms you in the long run. Practice forgiveness for your own peace of mind. Even if you don't forget what happened, ultimately you will. And when we find ourselves at a safe distance, it is just a blur, which is what it deserves to be, just way back there somewhere.
That's right.
That's right. The other one, maintain distance. Sometimes the best revenge is simply moving on and living well and, cut ties with a person who wronged you and focus on building a fulfilling life without them. Another is educate yourself to expand your mind. Now, let this unpretzel your brain after thinking about this. Wanting a positive experience is a negative experience, and learning to and accepting a negative experience is a positive experience.
What?
Yeah. It's what the philosopher Alan Watts used to refer to as the backwards law, the idea of when we pursue feeling better all the time, the less satisfied you become as pursuing it, only sort of reinforces the fact that you lack it in the first place. And so, the more you desperately want to be rich, the more poor and unworthy you feel. Oh, yeah, okay, regardless of how much money you actually make.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, we can get so single-pointed and forget about all of what we have and that there are paths to take and keep your sense of worthiness intact. Like the more you want to be spiritually enlightened, the more self-centered and shallow you can become, being full on about getting there. We can be subliminally taught as a child, for example, want for nothing, be content with what you have, don't worry about your looks, this is how you'll find happiness. Happiness and beautiful simplicity will follow you if you're not self-centered and self-indulging. This is not to shame anyone for their normal human needs. The key word is desperately. Desperately wanting them separates you from the thing.
Oh, yeah, that's gold.
Knowing what you deserve and not just wishing for it.
Yeah, massive difference.
The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle explains all of this perfectly. He talks about the pain body, and the explanations are really helpful if you're interested. And the fourth, so important if you're able to, surround yourself with supportive friends and family who can provide comfort and perspective during difficult times. If that isn't possible, reading and filling your mind with information, quotes, real-life experiences give a richness that is life-changing, hopefully giving ourselves the opportunity to go with the flow.
Go with the flow.
Thank you, Bob. Many naysayers would say easier said than done,
But it can be done.
damn straight. The constant struggle to swim needlessly against the current and upstream when everything we're really seeking is actually already inside us. Going with the flow gives us the stillness to see it. Such a grounding state of being, accepting our reality for what it is. Another, number 5, focus on your happiness. Instead of seeking revenge, focus on doing things that make you happy and fulfilled, whether it's pursuing a hobby, travelling, or spending time with loved ones. Prioritise your own well-being. We can be mad or sad or both, and a few other verbs. And I say, feel it all. That is the only way through, literally going through, so the sting of revenge subsides and you get on with better things. It is a normal human experience to want to be loved and have happiness, not to shame anyone for their normal human experiences. Which brings us to number 6, avoid negative actions. Resist the urge to engage in negative behaviours like spreading rumours or seeking to hurt the other person, because things will change. Time will change and will be something that you will most likely regret, because as we develop, we don't have that need to hurt another person, and these actions will only escalate the situation and prolong your own pain.
Did you hear about the rumour about the butter?
No, Bob.
Well, I'm not going to spread it.
Not bad, not bad.
Yeah, no.
Number 7, seek closure. If possible, have a mature and honest conversation with the person who wronged you to seek closure. Now, as we know, that's not always going to be possible. And even then, sometimes it's just best don't answer their calls, don't message back, or don't message them. Let it go. Express how their actions affected you, maybe to someone that you trust. But if you can get to speak to that person, it might be wise, if you can, to allow yourself to listen to their perspective as well.
Yeah, but that's not always the case.
Well, I know that. Very true, Bob. But, I have known people who have remained, quite good friends, say after a marriage is separated, and that was just because they already were friends and they realised marriage wasn't for them, and in some instances it's they're sharing a child and they're mature enough and loving enough to remain friends, so they're not inflicting, their pain on their kids, which is such a terrible, cruel thing to do to children. And sometimes the challenge is that you won't get closure. And as time passes, which it will, I promise you, you won't care less. Getting closure ain't all it's cracked up to be. Another one, number 8, therapy. Consider seeking therapy or counselling to work through your feelings and gain perspective on the situation. A trained professional can help you navigate the complexities of your emotions and move forward in a healthy way. It's just when you're in that moment, when you're going through that period, it feels like it's never going to end, and we all need, coping skills, and certainly a trained person can give you that. Remember, revenge might provide temporary satisfaction, but it really leads to long-term happiness or resolution. Focus on healing and building a positive future for yourself instead. Plotting sweet revenge, eh? Well, here's a tongue-in-cheek guide to get back at your ex-lover. Now, this is all joking, all right? So embrace the petty queen or king persona. Don your imaginary crown and sceptre and get ready to rule over the kingdom of petty. Remember, revenge is a dish best served with a side of sass.
I thought it was best served cold.
Yeah, that's right, cold and sassy.
Okay.
2, master the art of subtle sabotage. Nothing says I'm over you like strategically rearranging their Netflix watch list to all the worst-rated rom-coms.
Would you really go to all that trouble?
No, this is just for fun, Bob.
Yeah, okay.
Become a meme maestro. Photoshop their face into some unflattering memes and circulate them discreetly. Bonus points if they go viral.
This is getting bad.
Yeah, why not? Number 4, level up your social media game. Post cryptic status updates like living my best life without toxic energy, blessed, and just watch them squirm trying to decipher your hidden messages.
You think?
Well, there's some desperados out there. Another one I'd say is number 5, channel your inner ghost. Casually haunt their favourite hangout spots wearing sunglasses and a fake moustache. Bonus points if you can pull off a mysterious accent.
Would you do that?
No, not in a heartbeat. Number 6, go green with envy. Start casually dating a cardboard cutout of a celebrity and post about your newfound love on social media. Who needs real relationships when you have cardboard?
Really?
No, not really. 7, launch Operation Pet Peeve. Discover their most annoying habits and subtly replicate them in public. It's the little things that drive them nuts.
I'm not sure if I like these.
Well, Number 8, stage a lost and found treasure hunt. Accidentally leave some of their belongings in random places around town with cryptic clues leading them on a wild goose chase. Extra points if they end up at the local petting zoo.
Yeah, okay.
Create a faux fan club. Start a fake fan page dedicated to them and fill it with hilariously exaggerated stories about their life. Who knew they were secretly a competitive knitting champion? No. 10, practice the art of forgiveness. Or not. Ultimately, the best revenge is living well and letting go. Or, just subscribing them to a weekly magazine about llama grooming. Your call. Remember, revenge is a dish best served cold with a sprinkle of humour and a side of self-care. Just make sure you enjoy the petty journey. Sure, revenge has played a prominent role in history, often with surprising and sometimes bizarre outcomes. And here are some fun facts about revenge in history. Don't know if you heard of the Hatfield-McCoy feud. One of the most famous family feuds in American history, the Hatfields and McCoys engaged in a bitter and bloody conflict in the late 19th century along the West Virginia-Kentucky border. The feud was sparked by various incidents of perceived injustices and revenge killings, lasting for decades and involving multiple generations of both families.
Hey, did you know that Yoda had a last name? It was Haley. It was Lay He Who. Don't block me.
Another well-known war, in this case the Trojan War, the legendary conflict between the Greeks and the Trojans, as depicted in Homer's Iliad, was initiated by Paris of Troy, abducting Helen, the wife of Menelaus, the king of Sparta. Menelaus sought revenge by rallying Greek forces to lay siege to Troy for 10 years, resulting in the famous tale of the Trojan horse. Most of us have heard of that.
Oh, yeah, I have.
That's good. Vendetta. The term vendetta originates from Italian culture, particularly from regions like Sicily, where it referred to a prolonged and often violent feud between families or clans. Vendettas could last for generations and were fueled by the desire for revenge for perceived wrongs or offences.
What do you call carrots with a vendetta? Revengetables.
It's not bad, I've got to say. That sucked.
Ah.
Edmond Dante's and the Count of Monte Cristo, this classic novel by Alexandre Dumas, tells the story of Edmond Dante, who is wrongfully imprisoned but escapes and seeks revenge on those who betrayed him. Dante's intricate and calculated revenge plots are legendary in literature.
Did you know that the story of Monte Cristo was inspired by a real-life story of a vengeful shoemaker?
No, I did not, Bob. And there have been 40 screen adaptations, though, of the Count of Monte Cristo.
Well, there you go.
And it's lent its name to a very unhealthy sandwich. In the 1920s, a deep-fried sandwich consisting of white bread, ham, turkey and Swiss cheese was developed, most likely in California. It was called the Monte Cristo sandwich because it became popular in the 1940s, not because, just became popular.
Well, do you know the crooked forest in Poland is home to hundreds of pine trees curved at a 90-degree angle?
Well, that's quite amazing.
Yeah, I don't think Count Monte Cristo was there at any time.
And
did you know that the word unfriend appeared in 1659?
1659.
Correct.
Very interesting. I really thought that was a much more modern word, but there you go. Now, another is the Black Dinner. In Scottish history, the Black Dinner was a notorious event that took place in 1440. The 16-year-old Earl of Douglas and his brother were invited to dine with the young King James II of Scotland. And during the feast, the king's men brought out a black bull's head, a symbol of death, before executing the Douglas brothers. This act of revenge by the king against his political rivals shocked the nation.
Did you know that the national animal of Scotland is the unicorn?
Oh, I love it.
And did you know Caesar published a joke book? They weren't his jokes, but he was a fan of humour. So Caesar had a scribe following Cicero around, writing down his best zingers, which he assembled into a book. Just for context, that's just...
Thank you so much. Well, Cicero is widely regarded as one of Rome's greatest orators and prose stylists. He was assassinated on the orders of Mark Antony.
That's actually quite interesting.
I'm so glad that you think so, Bob. Moving on, the Montagues and Capulets. Although fictional, the feud between the Montague and Capulet families in Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet is one of the most famous examples of revenge in literature. The tragic love story is ultimately driven by the desire for revenge between the two families.
Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou, Romeo?
On the loo, pass the toilet paper.
Some consider Romeo and toilet. Some consider Romeo and Juliet to be a romantic love story.
Well, only if you consider two underage kids in a relationship that lasted 3 days, causing 2 suicides and 3 murders romantic.
Yeah. That is really bad.
Well, you know, some things are romanticised, but then when you actually look at the age groups or, you know, what actually happened because of the romantic story that caused, you know, that held suicides and murders, it's not so romantic after all. But anyway, don't let me stop you from enjoying that.
Oh, you won't?
Good. And that brings us to the end of yet another episode. I'm so glad that you could join us. I hope that you enjoyed it. We had a lot of fun making it, clearly as we do. Edits out and mistakes are all in because, let's face it, it's 20-odd minutes of a bit of fun. But anyway, say good day to the family for me. Give the dog a paddle and we'll see you next time, okay? Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.